Today I'm playing Big Sis because I'm going to teach you exactly how to make a man fall in love with you. I would like to say that this goes vice versa into the fact that you can also use this as a male on a woman, but it's a little bit different if you were to apply it into terms. Let's begin. Everything in this world is literally psychological. As much as we don't love to admit that, it's true. And a lot of this world is seduction, and a lot of this world is sex. Pretty much everything in this world has to do with the energy of sex. And you don't actually have to be sexual to harness that energy and tap in. That's why some of the girls that you see that get any man possible don't really make a lot of sense. Like, they really can just have anyone they want. And that's because they've actually harnessed the power of seduction, or the energy of seduction. Alright, the very first thing that you're going to want to do if you want to make a man fall in love with you is actually going to be making yourself a little bit less attainable. I know that this is a hard one because we all want love. We all desire love, and we really want to feel loved and to find someone who deeply loves us. But in order to find someone who deeply loves you, whether you already have self-worth or no self-worth, which is a whole different scale, and that's something that we learn throughout our lives and we kind of grow through. In order to attract someone that appreciates you and respects you, you can't be giving yourself out to everyone. And that's just the truth of what it is. So very first thing that you need to do is make yourself less attainable. And how do you do that? So just need to pull your energy back and give less of your energy to people. Recognize yourself as an energetic stream. And if people are scooping energy out of you all the time, you're literally gonna have nothing left. And so you need to keep all that energy within yourself and really wait until other people have worked really hard and courted you to a certain degree to then allow them to experience your energy. That makes you way less attainable. On top of that, it makes you more desirable. And people who do see that you gave your energy or allowed this one person to experience your energy are going to recognize, oh, like, maybe it won't be in these exact terms, but in the back of their head they'll say, oh, she's like harder to get. And this is what creates the game. And as much as we don't love the game is a huge part of just life. And throughout this whole video, I'm just gonna be really honest with you, but there's a lot of things that just are. And if you want to learn to play, and you want to strategize the energies in this world to your benefit, then you kind of need to step a little bit into your game and just recognize that you are the shit and you need to treat yourself like the shit. Because if you're not doing that and you're sleeping with a ton of people or giving your energy out to a ton of people or letting people walk all over you, that literally, it scales you down energetically. And people can feel that from you. They can feel when you're drained. People can feel when you give too much of yourself to other people. Like, if someone looks at you and you just feel like butterflies because you're like, oh, they gave me a second of their attention, that is not the right energy to be coming from, because that is an energy of desperation. And we don't want that energy, because that energy or that frequency attracts more desperation into our lives. And it actually attracts the types of people or male figures or masculine energies to us that aren't gonna put any fucking work in. And you want someone who puts work in, because you are worthy of someone courting you. So making yourself less attainable or more desirable. Another way to make yourself more desirable is to have something. This is a funny thing, but I do this with everyone I'm with, and every single person, like, I have my one thing that's like, it's special. And you need to find your one thing that's special, and you only do it with intimate partners. And so it's something that when someone first experiences you, because you've given them enough time to court you, they get to experience that thing that's special about you. They're like, what the fuck? Because not everyone does it. And it can really be anything. You may already have something in mind, because when you start to have intimate partners, you'll notice that you have a little bit of a pattern within yourself, because we really experience this world through ourselves. And when you're with someone, you tend to have that pattern show up a little bit more, and you can recognize it if you step back a little bit. So as you're with partners, if you don't think of anything right now, with your next partner that you let court you, recognize what comes up while you're with them and what little cute things you do or things that they notice that you do. Usually it is going to be something that someone makes a comment on, and they're going to be like, why do you do that? That's your thing. That's your special little thing. And that is what throws their mind or catches them off guard. They're like, the fuck, you know? And that is a good thing, because that makes them recognize that there's something about you that is different. And if you don't have that happening ever, try out some random things that make you feel comfortable.
Hi, future me chiming in. I just also wanted to say that as you're finding something special about you, if you don't have something specific that stands out, what you can actually do is choose something. Like, you can choose to be in love with something. Like, let's say that you are obsessed with dog parks, and every time that you see a dog park or you think about a dog park or you're with someone, you just talk about dog parks. You're like, I just love dog parks. And every single time that you think about dog parks, then you're gonna bring it up and talk about it all the time. Usually you want to pick something else. Like, you could be in love with like a band, or you could be in love with like a place in a city, or like coffee shops or something like that. But being in love with something or having something that really stands out about you that's different from everyone else, that's like your thing, like this is your thing, that thing is really going to stick in their minds. And then whether or not you're still in their life, every time that they pass a coffee shop or they're going to a dog park, they're going to think about you. And that is how you recreate a never-ending cycle of the energy of love within that person for you.
This will move us into our next point, which is actually to be more of yourself. Be more authentic. Because one, the frequency of authenticity is the most powerful frequency in this fucking world. It is like, I don't remember the exact amount, but like 4 times more powerful than even love. So you want to be authentic, and whether or not you know yourself enough to be authentic, you can be authentic in the sense of having a little bit more fun and silliness inside of you. Think of yourself as when you were a little girl, and go back to that part of you that really did dumb little childish things. Like for me, I used to pick up roly-polies when I would walk on the street. If you don't know what a roly-poly is, it's those cute little like gray bugs that have all these little legs, and if you go to touch them and you scare them, they roll into a little ball. That's a roly-poly. So that's something that I would do. Or I would touch like different creatures on the ground. Like that was just something that was me. This is a really simple example, but this is something that brings out a little bit more of the playfulness of myself, and it brings my inner child to the surface. One, that psychologically makes others think that I feel safe around them, and that makes them feel good. And you want to make people feel good. That is one of the #1 rules or ways that you can seduce someone, is by making them feel good. Energetically. You don't have to say shit. You really just have to energetically showcase to them that they are winning, and that is a way for you to also win. So when you're playing with your younger self, or you're being more playful, they feel like you feel safer with them. That brings up a more masculine side to your partner, making them feel like, oh yeah, like this is amazing, like I'm providing. And that's actually biologically based into the masculine, to want to do that, to be the one that holds, to take care in those ways. And even just by making someone feel safe, that's a super big thing. But it can make you feel so safe to know that you're just having fun, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with them, but it's teaching them that they make you feel safe, and that helps you make them fall in love with you, which is really interesting. It's also psychological, but you don't need to be thinking about it in that way. Something that's really important when this whole experience of life is moving around is that you don't need to, everyone teaches in these psychological ways. And that's really important because it's the way that we understand it. And when you say this is a psychological mechanism, or a way that you can get into someone's psyche, that is true, but that's because that's how we understand that we're affecting their minds, that we are targeting or accessing different frequencies that connect our energies. And in order to do that, you can do it naturally, and we actually do it naturally every single second of every day. We just don't ever think that we're doing it. And so you don't have to in the moment be like, oh, I need to be silly so that he's this, because that's not going to come from authenticity. What you need to do is sit your ass down or stand your ass up and say, I'm gonna play. And that is the energy you want to come from, because you want to think about what's going to make you feel good. And this is driving a little bit more into the point of people want authenticity from you. They want to feel that from you. Now, if you look at a bunch of people and let's say you go people watching, this is so important. And a great place to people watch is actually in clubs, because you want to know who everyone's looking at. The person who's being the silliest, the person who's having the most fun and gives absolutely zero fucks what anyone is thinking of her. And so that person is attracting most people because they're coming from their authentic self. They're having fun for them because they're like, fuck all of you guys, I'm gonna do this dance move or whatever the fuck they're doing, right? And that is super important because that's the energy you want to come from. People also fall in love with someone who isn't trying to be other people. So when you go and you're in a public setting or doing anything with other people, instead of, we naturally like kind of copy or replicate people around us, especially if we're close to them. You can watch so many different psychological videos and things where, let's say someone you love does this, then a moment later you'll do this, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. But when you're in public settings, you want to be the one that's driving those movements because that's your authentic energy, and having other people replicate your energy and having it as a fun circle where you're playing with the energy, it's kind of like the dance of life. And again, these are all things just to think of now and then implement throughout time. Step yourself back a little bit more when you're in settings and notice who's driving the energy. That's a great way to start because that's going to give you the opportunity to just become a little bit more aware, or give you access to be able to take over that energy and you drive the force, and then you're leading the dance. And that is another energy that people love. Like, people love when you're the one that's kind of like fucking with the energy or the vibe. Especially when people throw off energies or do something different, people love that. As much as it can be uncomfortable or people are like, what the fuck's going on? Like, it's drawing. The energy of shifting, emotion of energy, it's like so quick and direct that it pulls so much attention and everyone's like, whoa, like what is happening here? Especially if it's funny and if it comes from a good energy, which I always recommend always coming from a good energy. The negative energies aren't really as much fun because they don't pull people to you, they actually repel people from you. But if you're pulling energies and doing weird things in moments that people are like, whoa, like what are you doing? Like someone mixing two weird things at a dinner table and you're like, what is going on here? Because it's so different, but it's hilarious at the same time, and it just showcases more of them and also makes you fall in love with them more because they have things that are so them and that are so not you. That is a way for anyone to get people to fall in love with you, and in general, getting people to fall in love with you is more and more and more about you just being your authentic self. And it's true, you just want to be more authentic. The hard thing is that we live in a society where there are so many expectations, and we've actually been programmed to think so many different things about ourselves and about what we're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be jack shit, you're just supposed to be you. And who gives two fucks what anyone else thinks about what you want to do? You just need to stay true to you. And if you don't know who the fuck you are, go ask yourself. It can be a really hard conversation. It is one of the most necessary conversations you will ever have in your life, because knowing who you are and what you want and how you want to be silly and how you want people to experience being around you, the energies you want to evoke, the vibrations that you want to be radiating, you should know those things, because that's how the entire rest of your reality is actually going to match you and your frequency. Because if you're vibrating at all the ways that you want to vibrate and who you feel, you're like, ah, this is so good, then everything else around you is literally gonna match that vibration and be in love with you. The next way that you can make people fall in love with you is actually through the psychological patterns that everyone casually talks about. This is playing the game to like a wild degree. Psychologically, you can make people fall in love with you, and that's all through energy, which we will get to more into energy in just a moment. But this psychological version or pattern that you can tap into is the game. This is how you make people obsessed with you, and it does work, and it's a wonderful thing, but it really is something you have to keep up. So for me, I've done it, and it's not my favorite thing to do in the world. I really prefer coming from authenticity and feeling the vibes and just attracting the energies that I want to be and want to see in my world. But I have done this as well, and you can get people to be obsessed with you, but it's just a little bit draining in the sense of you're pretty much always playing a game. And it can be really fun if you're like a super fiery energy. This is like the best way to experience relationships in partnerships or in different people in your life, because it's just like you love the game. Like you could deeply just want to play all the time and be obsessed with the way that people respond. So in order to get people to be obsessed with you, basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull back your energy. So this is kind of like becoming less attainable, but you're gonna do it to a crazy degree, and you're going to treat other people like you're the drug. When you first introduce yourself to them, you're gonna go all fucking in, and you're gonna be really deep in it for a very short period of time, kind of like if you took a drug. You have like what, 12 hours on a really good drug to be so fucking lucid in it. You're kind of gonna wave it in the way that a drug works. You're gonna go lightly, you're gonna hit a peak point where it's so illustrious and everything is obsessive and you're like, I'm so into you. And then it's gonna fall down and you're gonna pull away, because you do this once and then you completely pull away and you're like, you need to not give two fucks. You need to walk away and be like, okay, and then go do it to another person. This is how fuck boys and fuck girls get you. This is literally their secret, and they do it consistently without ever telling anyone that they're doing it. They do it to multiple people at once, which is how they become a fuck person, fuck human. You're gonna drugify all these people, get them addicted to you, give them your all, and then you're going to pull back. And the way that drugs work, if you ever do them, which I'm not recommending or condoning, if you ever have experienced even just like taking meds from a doctor, like there's always the peak point, and then the next time you do it, it never feels the same as the first peak point. So the very first time that you're with someone, you want it to be all in. Like you want to make them want that again, you know? So you're gonna give them absolutely everything of you. And that's super beautiful and it's fun. But then you're gonna pull back and then you're gonna move forward. You're gonna let go of that person, and it's the practice of release that makes things come back to you. So really, along this process, whether it has to do with you like doing this to a bunch of different people or seducing a bunch of different people in this way, it's kind of teaching you the practice of release, which is why often you'll find a fuck human doing this to several people at once, because the more you learn to, you go all in a moment, and then you fucking release and you say, okay, I'm good if it never ever comes back again. Guess what's gonna happen? While you're moving on and in these other areas completely releasing one thing, it's gonna be drawn back to you. It's gonna want you again. And so that's going to happen where that person rolls back around, and then as you're with them, you're not gonna give them the same depth that you gave them that very first time. This is what literally activates the obsession in someone's mind, and it makes them feel like they're like, what, why, you know, they're gonna start questioning themselves. And this isn't really a very nice thing to do. It's like, it's not very kind, but it is what a lot of people do, and this is just the game. You can actually do this with just one person, with your partner, and oftentimes if you see a fuckboy finally end up with someone, it's because they played this game back with them, and that's how they ended up getting obsessed, and it was the opposite roles, where you literally played the opposite position, and they became so in love with you and obsessed with you that they couldn't get away. And they just kept coming back because they were like, I want more. And eventually, if that person ends up in a partnership, they end up playing the game back and forth with each other. And that can be a really fun dynamic. And I actually know a few relationships that have lasted for many years with that dynamic, where it's like, you'll play the obsession card and then this person will run back, and then this person will play the obsession card and you'll run back. And then it's just this never ending like relationship that's just running back and forth from each other. But it can be really, really fun, especially if you are addicted to the type of obsession, or you grew up in unhealthy relationships and you don't know how to get into a healthy relationship. If you find a relationship like that, you can play the game with each other and actually turn it into a healthy relationship. But it is different for every case scenario, and I think that's super important to remember. You can make people fall in love with you and practice the obsession with yourself, and it's also practicing manifestation and release. As you're moving through, you're practicing release, and that release pulls things back into your reality that want you, and that brings you more into the energy of feeling wanted. You're like, oh, like everyone wants me. And that attracts more of the energy of realizing how much you are worth, because we are literally so abundant in energy and so abundant in light, and we are worth so much as beings, and we all are. And I think we're super judgmental as human beings towards anything and everything around us, thinking that anyone isn't, because we are. Every single one of us is so fucking abundantly beautiful of energy and source energy, and we all have our own, and everyone is so desirable and wanted. The last thing that I wanted to deep dive into is the art of seduction. You can read Robert Greene's book. I actually personally got really irritated by it because I hate the concept of referring to human beings as victims. They're not victims, they're opportunities. But you can go read it if you want to. It's totally your decision. The concepts in it are very similar to the concepts that everyone talks about when it comes to seduction, and even the same psychological game of attracting people to want you. But what I'm going to talk about right now is actually the version of a siren. I'm going to talk about the energy of seduction that has been used through fame, is a good way to put it. Most of the really, really famous people have this energy, and they kind of attain this energy over time. I think this is something that you gain through the wanting, like learning that you're wanted, and then you start to align with the frequency of being extremely desirable, and that desire teaches you this specific energy of seduction, which people refer to as the siren. One of the first ways of seduction, or ways of being, that you can really be in is an energy of just subtle confidence and grounding. And what you're going to do with this energy is you're basically going to stand or sit. You're going to curve your backbone down into your hips and kind of like clench your butt cheeks, and as you're walking or speaking, that's gonna center you backwards and downwards through your root chakra. That is going to give you the energy of grounded and confident. You'll notice your voice also changes when you center in that energy, because you can be all up and tippy toes and high and fun and vibing and like be a little fairy and talking about everything that you love, and you can heighten your voice and everything. That's going through your crown chakra. That's a super spiritual energy that we often experience through spiritual baddies online. Slowing down in general really showcases confidence. So the more you can give yourself the opportunity to slow down and speak from just a slower pattern, it will provide the energy of confidence. And even more than confidence, it will provide an energy of center. And that center energy shows that you know who you are. Centering in your body in that way can really showcase a confidence that other people are super attracted to. And my camera is about to die. But often, I highly recommend playing with your tone and playing with your voice and standing and moving your body in different ways and learning what feels the most in alignment for you, what feels the most alive for you, and what feels the most confident within you, and speaking from that perspective. This siren energy is basically, it's kind of hard to explain, but you've seen it throughout all famous people's faces. There's like I'll show you. There's like a happy-go-lucky face, a really beautiful happy face. You can be the cute girl too. You can be like, or you can soften your eyes and you can draw your energy back like this. And then it's like kind of like a elusive, seductive type of energy when you drop into it. You can really basically make love with whomever's in front of you, or the camera lens, or speaking, and that energy is the attraction and the frequency. My camera died. What I was getting at is that you can literally shift your energy into the back of your mind as if you're experiencing life like the main character. One of the #1 celebrities that did this was Marilyn Monroe, and she could literally, and we have proof of her saying this, say that she could turn it on. So basically you can be cute and you can be fun and you can be all in your stuff, you know, and just like you. And you can also shoulders back, and you can soften your gaze and step back into it and walk like you are the main character. This is that siren energy. All in all, that is really the focuses and main things that I wanted to get across to you, because what's most important is centering in your body. It's recognizing your worth, and it's learning to treat yourself like you're something special. That is what attracts people that court you. That is what attracts the energy of recognizing that you deserve more. And it makes more and more and more people fall in love with you. And so I highly recommend just testing it out a little bit. See which ones you like the most. More people are gonna fall in love with you the quirkier you are, the funnier you are, and the more playful you are within your own body and your own experience in this reality. And I hope that these tips or these perspectives have been really interesting for you to listen to. If you have any thoughts, I highly recommend commenting them. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.